Hello and welcome to tonight's tutorial. So today we're going to be doing overlocking around corners. We'll just give it a couple of minutes for everyone to join. Hopefully there'll be people coming in. So we'll just give that a couple of moments. I know not everyone likes to arrive bang on 8 o'clock, so we'll see how it goes. I'll just do a quick overview of the corners that we'll be overlocking and what I'll actually be demoing tonight. So I've got a few samples here. We'll be doing outer corners, which are literally just your square edges. We'll be doing outer curves, so these nice rounded edges. We'll be doing inner curves, which are slightly trickier, but still not too bad. And then the trickiest one of all, we'll be doing the inner corner, which is your right angle corner there. So I'll be going through one at a time, and then at the end I'll demo how to do the pocket bags, as someone asked in the tutorial event, and I will also do how to get a nice finish on straps like in the overtools, which I know is quite a commonly asked question. So it seems that we've got a few people now, so we'll get started. I'm going to start with the easiest one, which is your outer corners. These are when you literally just have two straight edges, nothing else to worry about. So I've already cut a very boring square and clipped it together. Now I've turned my blade off for this because if you're practicing corners, it's a good idea to perfect it with your blade off, and then you can go start doing it with your blade on. So all we're going to do to start with is just straight down on it. And then we're going to come off the end here and just snip it. Now we want to snip it quite close. My tension's not quite right there, but I don't have time to adjust it now. So this bit is about to get sewn in, so we don't mind that that's not tied in nicely. So all we're going to do is go straight across here and do exactly the same thing. We're just going to overlock straight down this edge. So there we go, we'll just feed that in. There we go, and again cut it off nice and close. Next corner. So this is really useful if you want to make some unpaper towels, as I think they're called, or maybe some small makeup removers. You can do French terry on one side, and you can do toweling on the other. This one can go, because we're about to cross over it with another lot of overlocking. So last edge. There we go, and this one will be a tail. There we go. So those are your outer corners. They're really easy, and all you now need to do is sew these ends into your overlock and trim them off. When you trim them, it's a good idea, so say that's inside the seam, to just pull them a little bit, snip them, and then they'll disappear back into the overlock seam. There you go, and that makes some nice neat little squares. Next level of difficulty is your outer corners. So I'm going to sew this up the straight edge, round this bend, and off the end. So again, we're just going to feed it in. And overlockers, obviously, you can't stop and twist your fabric slightly because you've got the double needle. So we're just going to take it nice and slowly. And as we come up to this curve, we're just going to very gently, with this hand, start pulling the fabric and maybe pushing it slightly with this one. As you do, you can force it to curve around the corner. So when you're practicing, start with a nice big curve like I have here, and then you can slowly move on to doing the larger ones. And then there you go. Now as you can see, you've got a lovely neat edge there, and it follows the curve of this fabric exactly. So all we've done is, as we're putting it through, is we've just pushed that fabric with our hand to follow the curve there. And then we come off again at the end. So this is useful for things like arm scythes or anything like that. Okay, so once you've perfected that, level up. And this one is inner curves. So this is a rectangle that's had a curve cut out of it. And we're now going to follow down this curve. So it's the opposite way round to the one we've just done. But the premise is pretty much the same. You're just going to start nice and easy at the edge. And then instead of pushing the fabric like that, you're just going to ease it away from you, trying to keep the stitching as close to this edge as you can. If it helps, you can manipulate the fabric to bring it into a straight line, especially once you've got the blade on, and just run it down there. And just try and keep it as straight as possible. Remember, a lot of the time, overlock is fabric, so you can move it around a little bit. And then once again, you've got a lovely, neat curve following the edge of your fabric there. So just to recap, we're pushing it in and we're moving it around with our hand, but at the same time, we can also flatten this edge out to make it as straight as possible, especially if you're using a stretch fabric. So if it was smaller, I might really pull it straight like that, and then all you've got to do is overlock a straight edge as normal. Inner corners. Now these are the highest level. No, these ones are less fun than the other ones. So a lot of the time, if your corner's big enough, you can just pull it straight like this. However, sometimes it is useful to just get your scissors and, staying within your seam allowance, just make a tiny snip at a 45-degree angle. And this allows you to really open that edge up to get a nice straight edge. So we're going to start with one edge, and we're not going to worry about this bit for a second. We're just going to overlock straight down here. And then when we get close to this one, we're going to bunch this fabric up. We don't mind if this bit's bunched, as long as the bit going under the overlocker is nice and flat. And we're going to very gently ease it in. Remember, you will have a slight gap. You see, I've just moved it there and brought my fabric back in line, because we did cut that small slip all the way down. Snip it off at the end. And although you've got a little bit of a gap here where we cut the slit, your actual seam is fine because you've got that double layer of stitching. So there you have an inner corner. And it'll be the same on the other side. Okay, so there are your 4 basic corners that you can use. You can combine them to do things like teardrop shaped nursing pads. You can do the makeup removal pads, your paper towels, your arm scythes, hoodies, anything like that. However, I did get a question on the group earlier about how you'd get round a pocket bag. So you can see that we've got an inner corner here, and then by the time we've gone all the way around this curve, so we've got a big outer curve, and then another inner corner. So we'll be using exactly the techniques we've just used, combining them to get around your pocket bag. Now, I would always turn my blade off to do this because it's a bit finicky and I don't like the blade on my overlocker. Everyone knows, terrified of the thing. So, if I was doing this, having turned my blade off, I mean, to be fair, you can just trim your seam allowance down to less and then use your overlocker like normal, because all you're doing is trimming off the extra. So, to me it doesn't seem to make a difference, but anyway. So we're going to go down here and we're going to flatten our edge out like that. I'm just going to try and keep that across there. So this is our inner corner, nice and flat. Run across it. As soon as we've caught it, we can let go of that bit of fabric. We can just adjust this bit across a little bit, and then we're going to carry on. Now we're going to ease straight into an outer corner, outer curve. So this hand is pulling on that bit of fabric ever so slightly to force it to go down. And then I'm gently pushing it in with this finger. Not a lot of pressure because you don't want to stretch your fabric out of shape. And then if you do, you can just pick your foot up and just give it a little bit of a nudge. The knife terrifies me, so I have learnt to line it up exactly where my stitches would be. This mark here is actually the one on my overlocker. There we go. So now we've got another inner corner. And I'm just going to flatten that inner corner out. And then again, I'm going to go straight through it. You don't need to do the little snip on pocket bags because you already have that. There we go. Now I say these are pocket bags, but this is literally a piece of fabric I drew around my hand on. So then when we turn our fabric, we have a nice neat edge. Now I've got some seam sewing because I seamed down my edge first because I decided to hold it together. And then I would normally, because I love top stitching, top stitch the edge of this pocket to stop it turning. And there you have a pocket bag. And we've just overlocked it down, through an inner corner, round an outer curve, and another inner corner. So I'll put pictures of this on the website in the forum so that you can have a look at it and refer back to it if needed. Now, the final question I got asked was, on a pair of overalls, which I have a pair in production here, how do you get the square edges at the top? So this is a tiny size. This is 0 to 3 months. Not for me. These are for a friend. There's no news here. So these are 0 to 3 months. I've cut out a mock set of back pieces here because I didn't want to sew a whole set up on this tutorial. So this is just 2 back pieces as though I was going to either half line it or totally line the back. So to start with, I'm going to use exactly the same technique as the outer corner. We're just going to pretend it's square. As though we were making a paper towel. And go up there. And I'm going to come off the end and snip it. Because we're going to overlock it in. Then I'm going to go across my second edge. Snip it off. And then, normally you'd sew this in, but I don't have any needle with me and it's an example pair. So we're just going to snip it off. Now, this is what causes the misshapen part of your straps, because when you turn this inside out, all this extra bulk has to go somewhere. So get a pair of scissors and very carefully, without cutting through the most inner edge of the stitching, chop the corner off. This reduces your bulk significantly, and if you're top stitching, it won't really make a difference to the strength of the garment. If you're not top stitching, just be careful when you cut that you don't go too close. And to get the other edge, we're going to come into our neckline. So we're going to go down there. We're going to do one of our inner curves. So you can see that most garments use a combination of the curves and corners. We continue down there until we come to the end here. Snip it. And we'll just do the last 2 because they're not long and I can turn it around for you. Go off there. And then we're going to do this final short edge, which normally would lead down the side of your garment. I just don't have one on mine. So straight down this edge. Okay. So we are now going to do the same thing as we did before and very carefully snip this edge out, making sure you have sewn in those other bits. Now normally I would top stitch around this as well because it just adds a little bit of extra strength, and it stops any of these bits from coming undone when you chop those edges. Now this is only just about doable on the 0 to 3 months, and on the newborn it's near impossible, but I put my fingers in and then push my fingers against them corners, and then you turn it, and that allows you to push these corners out with your fingers and then pull it, and there you have some nice neat strap ends, and then you're just going to put your snaps on there. So again, put your thumbs up the inside. This is a struggle on the newborn, but get your fingers, pop them there, and then push and turn, and make sure you push your fingers right into those edges to push that excess fabric where it's supposed to go. And then once you've turned it, again you'll have some nice neat edges, and then if I was making them I would top stitch around the entire arm up, round and down that neckline to make them as neat as possible. There we are. Okay, I think that was everything that I had ready to cover. Has anyone got any questions or comments about doing the corners? I'll just give a couple of minutes for people to type, especially on your mobile. We don't want any accidental autocorrect shenanigans going on in those comments. No. Okay, no one seems to be typing, but if you have got any questions, leave a comment on the video, ask me in the group. Once I've put the forum post up, I'll also link through to that, and you can ask questions and comment on there as well. I'll also be uploading this video to our new YouTube channel, which surprisingly is called Squeak and Bear. So you can comment and ask questions on there as well. Please do join us at the end of the month. We've got a sew-along coming up, which is a Woodland Wanderer sew-along. So you can make coats for kids. And thank you to my wonderful cameraman once again for being behind the scenes. And I will see you in a couple of weeks for a sew-along. Thank you. Bye.